Hey guys, Carl from Puerh Place. Today I'm taking a look at Tea Garden with its expansion Puerh from designer Tomáš Holek and publisher in America Capstone Games and original publisher Albi Games. This is a sort of point salady Euro game with a core mechanism that is deck building, but you're sort of building out a deck of cards, using those cards to take a variety of actions such as building up a tea garden or sort of building out different buildings, developing a tea garden, harvesting the tea, selling the tea at market, and so on, ultimately trying to score the most points by the end of the game. Disclaimer, I was given a review copy of both the core game and the expansion for this video, but as always, I will do my best to give you my own honest opinion on the game. With that said, let's head down to the table to see how this plays solo, and then I'll meet you back up here to let you know what I think. To set up a game of Tea Garden, begin by placing the board out onto the table. Next, taking these region tiles, going to give these a good mix up, and then place those out randomly onto each of these locations on the board, placing the rest of them back into the box. Next, I'm going to take these cup tiles. I'm going to give these a good shuffle, and then I'm going to place out a number of tiles in each of these 5 region spaces. According to this table right here, which says in a 2-player game, which is what we'll play solo, we need 5 tiles in each of these stacks face up. Again, returning the rest of those tiles to the box. Next, I'm going to take the action cards sorted by this value here in the top right corner. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And in a 2-player game, I'm going to shuffle each of these decks, and I'm going to draw 4 cards from each of these 5 levels, and then I'll stack them so that the highest level is at the bottom of the stack, and the lowest level is at the top of the stack. And then having built that deck, I'm going to turn over these cards and fill in these 6 spaces with the cards from left to right, making sure then that the lower leveled cards are at the lower priced spaces, which I'll explain later as we get into gameplay, and then the rest of the cards will simply get left there off to the side. Next, taking the caravan cards that do come in 2 different types, I'm going to shuffle up these sort of advanced caravan cards. We will use all of those. And then in a 2-player game, after shuffling this deck, I will use 7 of these basic caravan cards, which will then get placed on top of those advanced deck cards. And then again, I'll take that deck with the basic 7 cards on top and then the advanced cards below, turning over the top 3 cards into a column over here. 1, 2, and 3, like that. Leaving the deck at the top here to refill later on. Next, down here we need the Emperor cards, which are these cards right here. Simply going to give those a good shuffle. Turning over 3 of those into these 3 slots here. 1, 2, and 3. And then placing that there off to the side as well. Then finally, the only other thing that we need from the base game is I need to place this round tracker token onto round 1 up here at the top corner. And I need to place out the 3 different scroll tile types, which are these right here, these right here, and finally these +1 action tiles right here as well. And that's it for the base game, but for this playthrough I will be playing with the expansion, Puerh. To do that, we need to do a couple more things for setup. First of which is adding this sideboard from the expansion right here on the edge of the board. And then we're going to fill in everything here on this board. At the top here, we're going to be placing out tea cake tiles. The top tiles are these ones that have a red marking like that. I'm going to shuffle up all of these, filling in those 3 spaces, and then placing the rest off here to the side. And there are quite a few of those, so I have placed them out into stacks. Moving down here then to the next spot, we have the basic tea cake tiles here, which are the ones that are in green, shuffling those up as well, and then filling in those 3 slots, placing the rest of those off to the side. Next, down this row here, we need to place out Imperial Decree tiles, which are sort of going to be endgame or mid-game scoring battle kind of conditions, kind of contracts that we need to fulfill. Those are double-sided. You'll see one side has a brown banner like this, and the other side has a red banner. I'm going to give these a shuffle, and we're going to place 2 brown and 2 red out onto the board. And then finally, in this section over here, I need to place out Noble Court Hall tiles. You'll see maybe down here it says 3+, so we are only going to use the top 2 of those. Shuffling out those tiles, placing out 2 to start. And then I'll set the rest of those right here off to the side to refill later, because I want to use that last space for one more set of pieces that I didn't put out yet, and that is the 3 different resources or tokens that we need to use. These are cup tokens, these are our tea leaves, and these are the emperor tokens that we will need for later on. So setting all of those off to the side like that for use when needed. And like that, we are all set up for the game. Except that we also then need to set up our player areas. So coming over to the other camera, first things first, we need to place out our player boards. So for myself, I can choose any of them. The player boards themselves are not colored in any kind of way. They just have different illustrations on them. So I'm going to be playing as this character. But for the solo AI or solo opponent, I do need to use Lu Yu's player board, Lu Yu being the AI or automated opponent. So this is the board I will use for the AI. And I may have to move things around a little bit on screen, but let me just text for a minute. I want that to be 1 card space away. That looks good. So setting mine up somewhere around there. And again, we'll move things around as needed as we play out the other pieces. But that is that. For me, I will need to find a stack of starting playing cards or starting action cards, all of 1 color. For this game, I will be playing as green, so I will take those, give those a good shuffle. Placing those here next to my board. Give myself just a little more space. And then because I am playing green, then I will take all of the green components here, which is a bit of a mess. All of these tea garden tokens will get placed onto these spaces here at the top of the board. I do apologize that everything is sideways on camera, but I'll do my best on the main board to show things off as much as possible. The last garden will get placed out onto the main board, so I'll do that in just a minute. I also need, because I'm playing with the expansion, this board extension that goes here on the right side of my board, and onto that I will place out 2 of my courtier figures that go on there. The other 2 of those will also go out onto the main board. 1 and 2. All of my workers, aside from 2 of them, which I'll place on the main board in just a second, will stay here in front of me in my play area. And then also my scoring marker and my boat will also go onto the main board in just a minute. But let's set up the AI as well while we're here. The way the AI works is first they get their deck of cards. They start with these 3 basic cards. Then next, I'm going to take this deck of advanced cards marked with this green banner down here, give that a good shuffle. And from that stack, I will also draw 3 cards from that. The rest of those then get sorted into piles based on this secondary action logo there at the top of the card. And those will get shuffled in just a minute. But first, I need to choose the difficulty level that I'm playing. And the difficulty level that I'm playing is going to be dictated by these expert cards that are these red bottomed cards. If I play on easy, I use none of these. Medium is 1, then hard is 2, and then the sort of expert difficulty is 3 of those. I've only managed to beat the AI on the easiest mode, so we are going to go medium for this game. So shuffling those up, I'm going to take 1 of those cards like that. The other 2 go back to the box. And then I need to take these 7 cards, give those a good shuffle, and that will be the starting deck for the AI. Lu Yu. Placing it there. And each of these, again, will get shuffled And those can just get set here. These are cards that the AI will use later to upgrade its deck. Just like that. Then for the AI, actually, sorry, that needs to be moved because the AI also needs its board extension. And it will do all of the same things that I just did with its pieces. So all of its garden pieces, except for one, go onto its board. Two of its courtiers go out onto the extension. And then again, all but two of its workers, I will just place over here, just like I did with my own. Lastly, I do need to decide who will be the start player for this game. It does say just to make it random, so I'm going to flip a coin, and flipping a coin, I will be going first. So I'm going to set this first player marker, I guess, here on my extension board. Now let's head back to the main board to place out our components, and then we can get ready for gameplay. All right, so first things first, we need to place out our tea gardens in this starting zone over here. So one of mine will go there, and one of Lu Yu's will go there. Both of us will place our scoring markers, these guys right here, out onto the score track at 0. The remaining two courtiers in our colors will get placed down here at the bottom of this track over here. The two workers that we held back will get placed on this little starting line like this. Actually, I'm going to stand them up for right now. But as soon as I start moving them around the board, I will lay them down so they're easier to see, but that is just the starting position. And also over here on the Emperor's track, we need to start down here at the bottom like that. And then finally, our boat pieces or ship pieces will get placed over here at the start of the river. And finally, there is one last thing, and that is this sort of scoring piece for the AI on the Emperor's track. This does connect here, so I'm just going to leave it there on the board so that I can see that as I play. And with that, we are all set up for gameplay. So let's go ahead and dive in. So a solo game of Tea Garden with the Puerh Expansion is going to play out over a series of 5 rounds as shown here on the board. And each round is going to go through several different phases. Actually, only 2. The first one being the action phase, which is the main phase where we are going to take turns taking actions. And before I can explain that, actually, come back to the player boards for a second. I do need to draw a hand of 4 cards to start. So 1, 2, 3, and 4 are my starting cards. And I say that because over here is going to sort of show off how an action gets taken, and then we'll go back over to the main board to see what all the actions are. But on my turn, I'm going to use these action cards, as many as I want to play, into one of these slots, starting from the left and working my way across every time I take an action. The first 3 actions that I take means my first 3 turns in any given round will be free. If I want to take a 4th action, I will need to spend 2 regular fresh tea leaves and 1 fermented tea leaf. And if I'd like to take a 5th action, which is even more difficult to do, I need to spend 1 fresh tea leaf and 2 fermented tea leaves. But when I do that, I'm going to choose a number of cards from my hand, stacking those cards like this so that I can see the values of all of the cards, playing them into the leftmost column, and then taking an action using what I've played. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the total value of those red numbers or those red box numbers in the top left corner, and that will determine the strength of the action that I'm going to take. So in this case, this would be a strength 3. You'll notice that some of the cards have some information printed on them in the center. These teapots, I will show you in just a second, will be used when purchasing new cards, new action cards to add into your deck. Anything that you see in a circle like this is going to be a secondary action. That's going to be an additional action that you get to take, but only if this card is the topmost card in your stack. So if I cover that up like that, this will be a strength 2 action. I will have a green teapot or an earth teapot available to me for purchasing in future turns or even on this current turn, but I will not be able to make use of that pot icon because it's hidden. Vice versa, if I do this, I no longer have that teapot to use for buying new cards, but I will get a secondary pot action instead. So again, on my turn, I'm going to take a number of cards, playing them there, taking an action of strength shown in that corner, and then potentially taking secondary actions should I have any available to me based on the cards that I played. So coming back to the main board, let's talk about all of these main actions and secondary actions, because there are quite a few of different things that we can do on our turn. So here is the player aid from the expansion. The expansion does add in these bottom 2 actions, but these are all of the different main actions I can do using that strength card. So I can build a tea garden, I can buy an action card, I can sell tea to caravans, ferment tea leaves, harvest tea leaves, I can go to the Puerh market, and I can go to the noble court. So let's sort of walk through what all of those things are. First things first, actually I need to come back to to my player board again to show this off to you, but in order to build a tea garden, I will choose one of the locations or one of the buildings here at the top of my board, and I can only choose one whose value is equal to or less than the strength of the action that we're playing for that turn. In doing so, I would take that tea garden, coming back to the main board. I can then place that tea garden in any region that is adjacent to a location where I already have a tea garden. So because I start here, I can place in this region, this region, this region. The river acts just as a normal border, or this region down here. And when I do, I will place my tea garden building in one of those locations or one of those spots at that region. And I will take whatever the bonus shows. So here I would get 2 level 2 tea leaves. Here I would draw a card and discard a card. Here I would get 3 level 1 tea leaves, and here I would get a wild pot token. And you'll see later on that when we get to some of the further sort of easterly or right side locations, some of those spaces will also have a point value printed there that I will score when I place my building in that location. And it's also worth mentioning I can never have more than 1 tea garden in a location. I should also point out here that at the end of each round during the maintenance phase, the reason I want to have these tea gardens out on the board is that I will receive 2 fresh leaves of the level of each of the tea gardens that I have placed out onto the board. So having more gardens means more tea leaves to get more stuff done on future turns. The next action is buying action cards, which is what we're going to do down here at this bottom left side. The value printed on the board above each card is the strength value required to purchase that card. But in addition to having the strength of an action large enough to buy the card, I also need to pay whatever it shows at the bottom of the card. So in this case, this says that I need to have a blue teapot showing somewhere on my played card tableau on my board in order to purchase this card. I don't need to spend it, I just need to have that card showing somewhere in my tableau. So as I play more cards, I could potentially be placing out more teapots, because you'll see then that some of the cards will require more than 1 teapot. I also pointed out here before that you will get a token that gets you a wild tea token. Those can be spent to count as 1 pot of any type when purchasing these cards. The other thing you need to do is spend whatever tea leaves it shows down here. So this has to be at least level 3 2 fresh tea leaves. You can always spend fermented when it looks for fresh, and you can always spend higher than the level it shows, but this has to be at least level 3 and at least 2 fresh tea leaves. Here it would be 3 tea leaves of at least level 2. And when you do that, you're going to take that card, and that card goes immediately into your hand, so it can be played in the round that you sort of get that card, so long as you have action slots available on your player board. And these things will score points at the end of the game. That's what these values are here. They will also potentially give you more secondary actions, more pots to spend on things, and you'll see later on that they might also bring in other things, such as this right here. This says that when this card is played as a top card, I will be able to ferment one of my tea leaves. And that simply means flipping the leaf over from the fresh side to the fermented side. And I might as well talk about why that's important right now, but at the end of every round during that maintenance phase, all fresh leaves will degrade by 1 level, moving 1 level down in quality. But all tea leaves that are fermented will actually move up 1 level in quality. So that's a good way to sort of maintain and improve the tea leaves that you have in your available supply. You'll see later that some of those cards might also give you specific scoring abilities based on the leaves you have as those cards get played. So that's the second action, buying an action card. Next we have the caravans over here. The caravans are where we're going to be selling our tea. And each of these cards has 2 different areas on it. The top here is what we're selling, and down here is the strength of the action. And I need to qualify once in both of those things. So if I play a strength action of 1, I would score 2 points in this case, but if I play 2 or higher, I'd get 3 points plus an Emperor token. And you'll see that some of these require you to have at least a 2 or greater strength to even take the action here. If I played a 1, I cannot use this card. At the top, this is going to be the amount of tea leaves that you're selling or putting back into the main supply. 1 tea leaf here would get me 1 piece of a pu'er cake or tea cake, and 3 leaves here would give me a piece of cake, plus allow me to cull 1 card from my deck or discard or hand. And I'll explain what those cakes do in just a minute, but the point is, depending on how much tea you sell or get rid of, you will get other stuff, and some of those will also score points later on as those cards start getting better. And once you do that, that card goes into your supply because some things might score off of those cards, and those will be immediately refreshed. Also here as well, when one of these action cards is taken, they will slide to the left and 1 more will come out to replace it. The next 2 actions are simply based on your tea, based on the number of, or the value of the strength of the action you're playing. You can take a fermentation action, which means for every 1 strength you have in your action, you can turn 1 fresh leaf into a fermented leaf. And here, extra leaf harvest, for every 1 strength that you spent, you can harvest 1 leaf from your tea gardens, but you can only ever do that once for each tea garden you have. So if I spent this, for example, a strength 3 action, I can harvest 1 leaf from 3 different locations, but that requires that I have 3 different locations on the board, or it's sort of a waste of an action. The last 2 main actions are over here on the extension for the expansion. First is the Pu'er market. This is where we're going to get the fancier tea cake pieces. And you'll see for an action strength of 1, I can take 1 of these. For an action strength of 3, I can take 2, and for an action strength of 5, I can take all 3 of them. Except that when I take them, I need to spend whatever it shows here to flip this tile over and get whatever that thing is. So I mean, that's always shown here as well, but that will flip over as I pay for it. And you'll see here in the center, the stars and points. This is how these are going to score. At the end of the game, for every 1 that I've completed, means there are 3 pieces connected together, I will score a point total equal to the product or the multiplication of the number of stars times the number of points in that center of this tea cake. And you'll see how that works later on. But I should also point out that if I take more than 1 of these pieces on a single action, I cannot put them together in the same sort of tea cake circle. They will have to be placed into separate collections. So it's not always worth taking more than 1 of them, because it will mean that you have to start new cakes and can't add on to ones that you've already gotten. And then finally, the last action from the expansion is the Noble Court, which are these 2 tiles over here. By spending a value equal to or greater than 1 of the values shown here below the tile, I can place 1 of my courtier figures in that location. And right now I only start with 2, those are the ones on my extension board. And by placing on that location, I trigger whatever it shows on that tile. But then also, at the end of the round, we're going to look at each of these tiles and look at who has placed in those locations. Whoever's sort of total value of these added together is highest will score 5 points at the end of the round. Whoever is second highest will score 2. And if there's a tie, whoever is placed to the leftmost space, means the highest valued space, will break that tie. So those are all of the main actions. Flipping this card over to show you now, there are 3 different secondary actions. There's river navigation, cup production, and tea studies. River navigation, for every river navigation action I take, I simply move my boat forward once on the river, doing whatever it shows on that space. And you'll see later at the end of the game, I will score points equal to wherever I end up on the river. And here, whoever reaches here first will take that, and then second would take that. Cup production means that I can take a cup tile from any region where I have a tea garden. And what I'm trying to do with these is I'm trying to connect edges of the same color. When I connect edges of the same color, I will score points at the end of the game, but also, regardless of what color they are, anytime I connect 2 of those cups together, I will place 1 of these cup tokens on that intersection. And then at any point after that, I can remove that cup token to trigger the action printed on either of the cups on either side of that token. Then finally, the last secondary action are T-studies. And T-studies is this track over here. It simply means when I use a T-study action, I can move my figure one space forward on this sort of rondel in the corner. And what that means is there are actually only 4 zones of this rondel. It's not really a rondel, but circle. And you get to choose which of the 2 things you are going to do when you move to that area. And if you manage to loop all the way past this space, you will put one of your workers here in the middle, and at the end of the game, those workers are worth 10 points each. And if you do still have a worker somewhere around that circle, they will also score points based on which zone they are in at the end of the game. Then finally, there are 4 free actions. Most of them I've kind of already talked about. Remember the cup tokens, I can remove and activate one of the actions on a cup for free during my turn. I can use one of these scrolls for free during one of my turn, means a wild pot for buying cards. These +1 bonuses are used with cards that I've played to add additional strength to that action. And these ×2 allow me to use a secondary action twice in the same turn by turning one of those tiles in. And then finally, the last free action is this Emperor track down here. And to do this, I need to discard 2 Emperor tokens from my supply, plus 1 tea leaf of the value, sort of the level printed here or higher, to move up once on that track. And when I do that, I will always be discarding a card, culling a card. And when I cull a card, that means I'm going to remove it from the game, from my hand, from my deck, or from my discard pile. And if it comes from my deck, I will have to reshuffle before playing, but that is that. Anywhere I see this Emperor card, I'm going to choose one of these 3 available Emperor cards to add to my hand. It becomes a new card that works just like the other action cards with some very fancy or sort of more advanced things that happen, but also each of these cards has a unique scoring condition printed at the bottom. So for example, this one will score me 3 points for every action card that I have with the cup secondary action. This one scores me 5 points for every completed tea cake that I have at the end of the game. This one scores 3 points for every tea garden that I've built during the game. And if I can make it all the way to the top, I will score 10 points at the end of the game as well. The only other things you'll see are these are those +1 scroll tokens that I showed you before, and these will allow you to ferment 1 tea leaf when you get there as well. The last thing I want to point out while I'm here at this board are these tokens right here. The Imperial Decree tiles. These are scoring conditions that I will be competing with the AI to score. Whoever completes these things first will place out a token on the left side, scoring the more points, and second will place on the right side. Also, whenever we accomplish one of these, or at least the first 2 times we accomplish one of these, we will unlock 1 more courtier that could be used in this location. And for this game, I want to try and build 4 tea gardens to score 6 points or 3 points. I want to get at least to this space right here on the river to score 6 points or 3 points. I want to get up to level 4 on the Emperor's track to score 10 points or 5 points. And I want to have sold to 5 or more caravans to score 10 points or 5 points. So that's basically it. At the end of each action phase, there is a maintenance phase. We will advance to the next round. First player marker will switch to the other player. We always burn this leftmost card from this market, sliding everything over and refilling. Again, all fresh tea will degrade, all fermented tea will improve. We will harvest 2 tea leaves from each of our tea gardens. All of the cards we played in that round will clear and go into the discard pile. And again, we will draw 4 cards for the next round. And what that means is I'm always drawing 4 cards. So it is possible that I finish a round with cards left in my hand, so some future turns I might have more than 4 cards to start the round. At the end of the game, again, we score points based on the action cards that we showed here, like that. We score points based on the Emperor cards, based on the conditions at the bottom. We score points based on the river, based on the points at the location where we ended. We score points for tea studies, which is those people in the middle there, if we have managed to go all the way around that circle. Points for the Emperor track if we make it all the way to the top, although this AI will be scoring based on what level they finish at. Points for any matching colored connections of cups. Points for completed tea cakes based on that multiplication of the stars in the middle and the point values in the middle. And then finally, points for any of these conditions that we managed to get done. And that is that. That's a whole lot to take in. There's a whole lot more sort of small stuff that should sort of make more sense as I play through. So let's get started. I also haven't explained how the AI works, but I will explain that when the AI takes their first turn, which will be in just a minute after my first turn. So a couple of things to think about before I get started. I definitely want to look at finishing these things. 4 tea gardens, this space on the river, level 4 on the Emperor track, and lots of selling the caravans means I need lots of tea. I like lots of boat actions if I can get there. The only card I see that's a boat action is a 3, requires a green pot and 2 level 2 tea leaves. Sorry, I forgot our starting tea leaves when we set up at the beginning. And that's important because I start with 2 level 2 tea leaves, and the AI's leaves are never leveled, but they will also start with 2 fresh leaves in their basket. So I might want to try and get that boat card. And if it gets cheaper, that would be really helpful, but not necessarily important. I also want to try and get, at least 1 tea garden out. So let's start by, pots look nice. I don't mind having pots right now. I'm going to try to play pot 1, 2, 3 like that, which will allow me to place out, this is a level 3. Coming over to the main board, I'm going to place into this location, getting 2 fresh leaves that do go into my 2 level basket. And that is a cup action. So coming back to the main board now, I can choose from this cup or this cup. This one he might take for me. This one he can't take yet because there's nothing there for him to take it. He doesn't have a garden there, so I'm going to take this because white will connect nicely to that one and potentially to other ones later on. So that comes over here and will just get placed out like that. And that's the end of my first turn. And doing that, I realized that was the wrong order of things. Yeah, I'm undoing that actually. Let's rewind time, undo all of that. Because if I do that, I don't have enough cards to do what I want to do next. And nothing is really going to change by undoing all of that. Yes, instead, I'm playing green pot 1, 2, 3, so that I can then come back over here to take this card, which means I do need to spend those 2 tea leaves, and that goes into my hand. Now we can plan other things moving forward. Yeah, that's a better start. I'll do the building next turn. So now the AI. The way the AI works is on their turn, they're simply going to turn over a card, placing it in that location, and they're going to do everything that it shows on that card, top to bottom. And hey, they're starting with their expert card. They take 2 leaves, they're going to buy a card, and this +2 is going to explain what card they get. So first they take 2 fresh leaves. Then this +2 plus this value here, which is 0, plus 2 is 2. Back to the main board. Sorry, this should have reset, and it will right now. But they're going to take the value 2 card, replacing everything here as well. And they don't ever do anything with those. They're simply going to hold on to that for scoring at the end of the game. Then we continue moving down here. They're going to take a secondary action as printed there, which is a cup. Which unfortunately for me, because they only have a tea garden here, does mean they are taking that one from me, which is kind of sad. Because that's the one I really wanted to have, but that's okay. But it might mean that I expand a little bit differently on my turn. That goes there. Then it shows a green card with an equal symbol. That means they're going to take a new card with that matching symbol from their advanced upgrades. That gets added there. Then they're going to ferment 3 leaves. 1, 2, 3. And then if they had 2 Emperor tokens, they would move up on the Emperor track. They don't, so that is the end of their turn. Back to me. And I do want to build. I want level 2 leaves. Is never going to happen. I was hoping I might be able to buy 1 more card. But I need 3 level 2 tea leaves, and I can only see a way to get, oh, wait a minute. Perfect. All right, then I'm gonna play this 3, It's a 3 boat, strength 3. I'm going to use that to place out the tea garden as I planned originally. Placing there gets me 2 tea leaves. Level 2. But then also I get a boat secondary action, which means my boat will move to the next spot, which is 1 more level 2 tea leaf, which is great. Because it will mean that I'll be able to take this card on my next turn, because I do have a green pot out in my tableau, and I will now have 3 level 2 tea leaves. That's great. That's the end of my turn. AI goes again. They're taking 2 more tea leaves. 1, 2. And they're trying to do a caravan. Not trying, they're going to do a caravan. So looking here, they're going to take the 3rd card. I didn't place them left to right, mine are top to bottom, but they'll take the 3rd card. So they're going to take this bottom card. And then for the AI, again, they don't do anything. That's simply going to get there to hold on to for scoring at the end of the game. Then they're going to ferment 2 tea leaves and take the action up there. Now they're still only in 1 location, so they can only take that 1 tile, which is fine. So that will get added, and either way doesn't work for them, so it does just get connected. Now for me, I can have multiple rows of these, so I can sort of be working on multiple connections at the same time. The AI will only ever have 1 single row, so they're not going to be able to do anything with that. But they are then going to throw away 3 tea leaves to do that again. So they're going to take 1 more of those. So again, taking this guy right here, and that one will then be able to connect right there, which is helpful for them. They don't put cup tokens there. They will never activate these abilities. They're simply going to score points for having made that connection. Then finally, again, if they had 2 Emperor tokens, they'd do that, but they don't, so they don't. Coming back to the main board, this gets replaced. Yes, now I want this. So we're going back to where I was. That is a level 1. So I'm going to play this 1. It's a cup, so I will take a cup action in a minute as well. But I'll play that 1 cup. Strength 1. Over there I need a green pot, which I have, and I need 3 level 2 tea leaves, which is perfectly what I have. So those go away. We're over here again. I can buy this card. So that goes into my hand. These all slide over, but then I also get a cup action. I know the only place he can take cups from right now is the starting location, so I want to fight him here if I can. And this will connect very nicely to that one, which I will be able to get on a future turn. So I am going to take that like that. And that is the end of my turn. AI takes their 3rd turn. They're buying a new card. 1 and 2 is 3. So they take the 1 in the 3rd slot. Sliding all of those down, replacing into their collection. Then they're going to take another cup action. Wow, and they can only take the one that already exists, or that exists where they are. And that connects like that for another chain for them. They're crushing me with cups right now. Then again, they're adding another cup. They're going to just keep on racking up the cup points. Fermenting 2 leaves, they only have 1. They don't have any Emperor stuff, so that is the end of that. My turn again, but in order to play a 4th card, which I do have, I need to spend 2 fresh leaves and 1 fermented leaf, and I have nothing, so I get nothing. So I'm done, I pass, but the AI does have the ability to pay for those leaves, because remember, fermented leaves can always be used in place of fresh leaves. So those all go away, but that does mean they get to take a 4th turn. All right, and this says they're going to the Puerh market with a +2, and 2 is 4 action strength. So headed over here with a strength of 4, they do get to take 2 actions, or 2 of these cake tiles, and bringing their deck over so you can see what this shows. It's going to be 1, 2, 3 in that order. So they're going to take these 2. They never get any bonuses for them. They don't have to pay for anything. They are simply going to come over here, and they're going to break the rule about placing them into the same cake, and they will simply make cakes as much as possible. And the AI also cheats on scoring for them, because they will also score incomplete ones, scoring 10 points for complete and 5 points for incomplete. Ouch. But we're going to refill those. And then they're going to ferment 3 tea leaves that they don't have any of, and they will take 1 Emperor token for next time. And that is the end of the 1st round. So on the main board, we slide this to round 2. We burn this starting card. These all slide over. like that. We flip one card like that. All of my cards from the bottom of my board go away. All of their cards from the bottom of their board go away, except in their case, they're going to shuffle them. They're never going to have a discard pile. They're going to shuffle those cards, and then they're going to place those at the bottom of their current deck, like that. Tea ripening, I don't have any tea to ripen. He doesn't ever ripen anyway, because his tea is all sort of indeterminate level. And now we harvest. Looking back at the board, they only have one tea garden, so they'll get 2 tea leaves. I have one level 2 and one level 3, so I get 2 level 2 and 2 level 3 tea leaves. So that's 1, 2 for him. And I get 2 level 2 and 2 level 3 like that. I draw 4 cards into my hand. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, not a lot of bonus. I need to start getting some boats, but there's no boats out on that card market. So we might start focusing on these tea studies so I can start zipping around that track, because that gets me lots of bonuses and lots of Emperor tokens, which is going to start pushing us up. I also do need to start focusing on getting some caravans if I can get enough tea. I'd really love to place one more tea garden out at least so I can get some more tea going. One more thing on the main board. These 2 never got used. They will go away. I'm placing out 2 more. We've got cups, and we've got draw 2 cards. That's pretty big. That's pretty big, because again, it could be 5 points, or at least 2 points, plus 2 more cards into my hand. Could be powerful for combinations. All right, but he's going first. So we're going to turn over his card. He's placing out his first tea garden. And the way he's going to do this is he's always trying to place in a location with the highest possible value. Doesn't score any bonuses, doesn't get any of the points on the board, simply trying to get to the highest valued areas, because ultimately he will then block me from getting those higher point scoring areas. But right now they're all the same. This is a 3, a 3, a 3, and a 3. So instead we're going to take a look at the top of the next card in their area, and we're going to follow this order. So I'm looking at these different icons, and what I see is a 2 tea leaf, 2 tea leaf, draw and discard, 1 tea leaf, and pot. So going from the top down, we don't see any coals. We do see a 1 tea leaf. So he's going to play his right there like that. Then fermenting 3 tea leaves, they only have 2, but they will get 1 more Emperor token like that. Now I want more cards, but I don't want to spend a ton of tea. I want to get more tea for sure. Problem is, to get the next card that I want, I need 2 blue teapots, and I have no teapots at all. Red teapot and some other teapot could get me this card, but it's not super helpful. I'd really love to have this card, but 2 blues is going to be pretty impossible to get. Although I could come down here and get a wild token. And then if I did something like this and draw cards, I might be lucky and draw blue pots. So then I could aim for that. Yeah, let's do that. Let's focus on growing things. I was kind of hoping to go further that way, but going down there is not a problem, I guess. Because it does give me then access to these cups as well. And having level 4 tea over level 3 tea right now is not hugely important. Yeah, so I need to play out at least a 4, which limits me quite a bit. Yeah, yuck, hold on. We might try something else first. Yeah, I want to draw cards first. And I only need a 2 at the least to get there. So I don't need any red pots. I'm going to play 1, 2 like that, to place one of my courtiers on that 2. Which does mean I draw 2 more cards, 1 and 2, no blue pots. So I'm not getting that card this turn anyway. So let's focus on placing out tea gardens and getting other stuff done. I do have a river, which is great. I would like to maybe sell some tea to a caravan to start getting more, to get some Emperor tokens going. But anyway, we do have tea studies. So I'm going to either get 3 level 2 teas, which could be great to sell stuff, because that could also get me things over there. Or 2 fermented tea, which means things will get stronger and better for me moving forward. These are all fairly low amounts of tea. So I'm actually going to ferment. And I will ferment the level 3s, because I don't need level 3 specifically for anything, and those will get even stronger. Yeah, and that's my turn. Then, AI takes their next turn. Lu Yu is going to Courtier. He gets a 4, and he's trying to place on the first one first and then the second one, which is great because he's not competing with me. He's going to go up there and place on the 4. He doesn't trigger the bonus at all. That's just for scoring, so he will score 5 points unless I challenge him, and I'm not going to do a 6 action, so that's not going to happen. Then he ferments 2 leaves. He can't, but he will take that action. So over here, it doesn't matter what he takes because he doesn't get any bonus. He's simply going to that area. Then if he had 3 of these, he'd discard them and do it again, but he doesn't. He does have 2 Emperor tokens though. So he's going to come back to the Emperor track, go up there. He does nothing except score for that at the end of the game, but he will get rid of one of these cards from the market. And to do that, again, he's looking at the back of his card, which says he's getting rid of the middle card. He doesn't collect these just go away, so that's gone, and it will refill like that. Back to me. Let's go boating. Let's go boating, but what do I want to do? 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's put out a tea garden. So if I put out 4, but that was a mistake. I shouldn't have fermented these 2, because I can get that card. I can get that card right now if I want to. Yeah, no, I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna. We'll do that. That's 4. So I'm gonna place a 4, and let's get higher level. Over this way gets me 1 level 3 tea leaf. But maybe I do. 1, 2. No, that's it. But I will move my boat up 1, which does get me an Emperor and one of the wild tea tokens. We've got that and that. Yay. That's my turn. AI goes again. Caravan and another Emperor token. So back to the Caravan, he's taking the 3rd card, which is that one, into his supply, and this flips over a new one. Oh, that's amazing. Thank you. Continuing down, he's going to take a tea study. So he moves around once and ferments 2 leaves, but he can't. He also takes 1 more of those. So getting away from cups a little bit for a minute. My turn. I'm playing 1 with tea studies. Now, I should point out here, I didn't say this before, but when I'm taking this tea studies action, or when I'm taking any secondary action, I can choose to take the secondary action first before I take the main action. In this case, it's not going to matter because I am going to take a level 2 Caravan. So coming back to the Caravan, the reason I said woohoo, yay, yay, yay is because this Caravan token is amazing, because it says that for 2 tea leaves, I can get an Emperor token. And then for 2 to 3 action, which is what I'm doing, I'm going to score 4 points. So first things first, I go up to 4 points. But then also I am going to spend my 2 level 2 tea leaves to buy 1 more Emperor token, because now I have 2. I do collect that card. That's everything, yes. And I will play with that in a minute, but first let me finish this. I am moving up to the next, whoops, that's him. I'm moving up to the next section. I don't have enough stuff to ferment, so I will take 1 level 3 leaf and 1 card into my hand, plus a level 3 leaf. Oops, that flipped over like that. And now, spending 2 Emperor tokens and spending 1 leaf of at least level 1, I get to move up here on this track. I will cull a card in just a minute, but I get to choose one of these to add to my hand. This is 3 per gardens, and I want to have at least 4 gardens, so that should be 12 points at the end of the game, which is great. 2 per cards with teapots on them. I don't think I'm going to be aiming for that. Cups is nice, but nothing's scoring off cups, so let's focus on that. It goes to my hand. It's also a boat action, which is great because it'll push me up the river. This turns over, and now I get to cull a card from my hand, my discard, or my deck. There's nothing left in the deck. I can't touch any of these cards. Now, I really wanted this blue pot before, but I know I have another blue pot, and I know that the card that I was looking to buy is going to go bye-bye in the next round because it will get burned. So I don't care anymore. Although it is a card in my hand and I'd rather not burn a card in my hand. So let's get something out from here. I don't want to get rid of the value 2s yet, so either this blue or this green pot. And looking at the market, there's quite a bit more blue than green, I think, so I will get rid of that green pot from the game. Like that. That's the end of my turn. His turn, he can't afford to take another card, so he passes. My turn, I could pay. Huh. Sorry, I didn't refresh the caravan. Huh. Wait a minute. I can do a level 3 action. But if I do a level 3 action, I have no money left. Or sorry, I have no tea left. But level 3 could get me drawing 2 more cards. Level 3 would go to tea cakes, but I can't pay for them. But I could get a bunch more cards. Or I can get a cup. Yeah, or I can get a cup and another 2 points. Let's do that. Yeah, all right. Then I'm going to spend these 3 leaves. Yeah, that's great. And I'm going to play this 3 action right here. Like that. Which does ferment 2 leaves. I don't have any, unfortunately. I will get a boat and I will get to draw and discard a card, which is not going to help me right now. But let me do my main action first. For 3, I'm taking my other courtier, and I'm playing onto this 3, and now I can take from this pile, or this pile based on where my, whoops, no, I didn't go here. This or this is only it, because I don't have anything in green. I'm wrong, so I have to take this one. But that's fine because it does connect to my other cup. And now I would place a cup token on there, but I'm going to instantly take it off and get the Emperor token because there's no reason not to. Now again, I ferment 2, that doesn't help me. I am going to draw and discard a card, which is a shame. Because, yeah, that was a pretty nice card to have, but that's okay. But I do take a boat action. Hold on a minute. No, I take the boat action, which is draw a card. So this comes to my hand, and then I do that, which means draw a card and discard a card. Now, would I rather have the cup or would I rather have the extra 2 value? Based on what I see out there, I think I'd rather have the cup, to be honest with you. And that is that. End of the 2nd round. Coming here, sliding to 3rd round. Burning this card. These slide down like that. I want more cards, but these cards are not great. Then scoring this while we're here at the main board. He gets 5, I get 7, because that's 2 and that's 5. So, whoops, that should have been 5 for me last time. No, that was 4 from the thing. So 5 is 9, 10, 11 is 7, and he gets 5, like that. These come off. Those go away. We put out 2 more of those. This one gets you a leaf for every tea garden that you've got on the board, and this one gets me one of these green things plus a wild tea token. Then back at the regular board, these all go away. And I draw 4 cards, 1, 2, shuffling this back up again. 3, 4. I should be making my tea leaves better or worse, but I don't have any. He has 1 garden plus the starting garden is 2 gardens. He gets 4 leaves. 1, 2, 3, 4. And sorry, these should go away back to the bottom of his deck. Into there. Then I get tea leaves looking at the main board. 2, 2, 2, 3, and 2, 4. Like that. The first player marker passes back to me. And that should be all there is to it. Let's go into round 3. Now, I want to get more gardens out because I need to get 4 for that thing. If I push the boat one more time, which I can do easily, I will get that milestone. My next garden is a 5. Not helpful. I wouldn't mind getting another card, actually. And I only need a 1 to do it. So I'm going to play this 1 cup. Yeah, because a couple of things. 1 cup means I get a level 1 action. I'm going shopping. Hold on. No, that doesn't work. Got to use a pot. 1 pot is red, is value 1. Coming back to the main board with the value 1 red and the gray teapot I got before. I need to spend 2 level 3 tea leaves, which I can do. I get that card into my hand, which is powerful. Those all slide down. Flipping that. That's the end of my turn. AI goes next. He gets the level 3 card. That into his supply. Refilling that. Then he ferments 2 leaves. And then he's going to throw away 3 of those, or use 3 of those, to do that action twice. Over here he goes 1, 2 like that. Back to me. I need boats. I need tea gardens. Don't really want to cull more cards, but I think I'm going to have to do so. This level 5 is going to be nice to have. All right, so to get to the level 5, this might be a silly way to do it because fermenting stuff, yeah, you know what? Hold on. I've got 2, possibly 3 actions left. But let's see what happens first. Hold on, 3, 4, 5. I could get a 3. And maybe just say forget it. But let's do this first. I'm just going to do a level 3 action to, hold on. Is there any way I'm getting new cards? No, not likely. Not likely. All right, forget it then. So I am just going to do 3, 4, 5. Right away, 3, 4, 5, like that. Yeah, that's fine. Let me put out this garden. No, do I care? Hold on. No, change of plans. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like that. Because that'll be a boat 5. I don't ferment anything, which is not the end of the world. The reason I'm doing that is several reasons. First off, the 5 lets me place this out onto the board. I want level 5, so I'm going to go there, which does score me 2 points. But then I have to cull a card. I already got rid of a green, and both of my reds are here. So I'm going to look through here and get rid of, yeah, a blue card. So those get reshuffled because I played in that stack. That goes there. And then I get a boat, which is going to push up there, which gets me an emperor. And yeah, why not? I'm going to use the emperors and a level 2 leaf to move up one more time. So I go up. One of these gets fermented. Let's do that one. So it doesn't get smaller. I get 1 power token. And I have to cull another card. Well, I don't want to get rid of more blues or greens, so let's get rid of this red. Because what I'm doing next to level 2 is not going to matter, probably, but we'll see what happens. Yeah, and then that's the end of my turn. Coming back to the board, I do now have that spot on the river, so I do claim that higher valued spot. Yay. AI's turn. Tea cake market with a 2 only, so they're only taking 1 tile, and they're going to take the leftmost tile. So that is theirs. It gets replaced. Whoops. And that does finish their first tea cake. And then, sorry, felt table mat doesn't want to cooperate. We get 3 fermented. There's only 2 to ferment. And 1 of those guys. Back to me. So I am doing a level 2 pot. And I'm going to use that to place out a courtesan. Or sorry, a courtier. And I think I'm going to do that here, because that gets me 1 tea for every of my guys. So I get a 2, 3, 4, and 5. That's 4 new tea leaves. That's great. 2, 3, 4, and 5, like that. It also means I could potentially score 5 points if he doesn't challenge me there, or at least I score 2 points. Plus now I get a cup action. And now I can take from any of these regions. Drawing cards looks pretty nice right now. And it does match the color pretty well. Although, yeah, that's fine. place that there, which will get me a token. I'm going to leave that there because I might take an emperor instead of taking a card, but we'll see how that works out. That's the end of me. He plays again. Placing out a tea garden. Again, looking for the highest zone from there is this 4 or this 4. So I'm looking at +1 or 3 tea leaves. +1 is right at the top of his thing, so he will place there like that. And then he is placing out a courtier with a value of 2, looking to place at the top and then the bottom. But 2 plus 0 is 2. Guess what? I'm in the 2 spot already. So he'll move to the other tile, placing there. That's great. I mean, it does mean he scores 5, but it also means I score 5. He doesn't take away my points. Yay. And that's that. Now, I could play more cards, but I don't have any. Oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Is it worth taking an action? Well, let's draw a card and see what happens. Because I got a lot of tea. If this is a high value, of course it's not. It's a 1, but it is a boat. And a boat's pretty powerful because it's going to get me a double secondary and an emperor token. And with a value 1, there are a couple of places I can sell to. Yeah, you know what? Let's do it. Let's do it. I do have 1 fermented tea. So that fermented tea plus 2 level 2s down here means I do get to play again, which is just a strength 1 boat. But with a strength 1, I can sell over here. And I don't want to call any cards, so I am only going to sell 1 tea. And with a strength 1, they're all worth 2 points, so it doesn't matter. Let's take this, because it's also going to get me 1 power. So I'm going to get rid of my level 3 tea leaf to take 1 power token, and I will score 2 points. 1, 2. That refills. That means I now have 2 of those cards. We're aiming for 5. AI also has 2 of those cards, so we're equal. He's got another power, or I've got another power coming. Ah, wait a minute. Yeah, forget it. I already had 1 of those. Let's spend that as that to make that a 2, because then I get 1 more point and I get an emperor. That's great. That's extra great. Okay, that is me done. No, then I get a boat. So the boat goes up means I get another emperor and I get 2 things. Sorry, a double secondary action token. Great. But now what? Do I use my emperors? Probably so, but I don't really want to cull any more cards from my hand. Ah, wait a minute. It says allows you to remove a card from your draw deck. All right, then allows me means I don't have to. So yeah, let's do it. 2 emperors and 1 of my 4s to push up 1 more time, because now I can take 1 of these. I still don't love cups, and I still don't love teapots, so I might do that. 3 per fermented tea at the end of the game. That's likely to happen, especially because that ferments, and that's a boat, and that's also studies. That's great. Into my hand. That goes. Flipping this over. That was my final turn, because I can't afford another one. AI can afford this turn. So they do that, flipping over 1 more card. They're going to take a card of value 3, which means that one right there. Filling those in like that. And then that goes there. He's going to take a cup action, which for him is red. He can take there, or no, just one of those 2, trying to connect to blue or white. Either one of those will work. So he's looking at priority of color here, which in this case is yellow, red, blue, green, orange. So blue comes before green. So he will take that one, placing that onto his connection like that. He takes another cup, another pot. Ferments 2 leaves, but he doesn't have any, and he does go up on the Emperor track, pushing up once, again, and getting rid of, based on his card, the leftmost Emperor, which is fine because I don't care what's coming next. 12 points and 4 fermentation. I like that a lot. And that is the end of the round. This slides over to 4. This card gets burned. These slide down like that, flipping 1 more over like that. We both score 5 points. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Those go away. These tiles get replaced. We've got a special action of our choice or secondary action of our choice and cake plus card. That's great. All of my cards go away. All of his cards go away and shuffle. Now you get to see how T works. These both degrade by 1. He gets 2, 4, 6 T. And I get a 2, a 3, a 4, and a 5, 2 each. First player passes back to him, and we are ready for round 4. All right, then AI goes first this round. Flipping here, we do need to start focusing for me on these to start scoring a bunch of major points because we got lots of T going now. But anyway, he's going cakes for 4, which means they're taking 2. Looking here, they take the leftmost and the rightmost. So back at the board, this one and this one go bye-bye. He plays there, and there. Starting a new cake up, which is not very good for me to see. Fermenting 3 leaves and taking an Emperor token. Whoops, Emperor token is there like that. I never drew my 4 cards, so here we go. 1, 2, 3, and 4. We got lots of scrolls going, potentially lots of boats going. Fermentation is nice. I wouldn't mind more cards, but running up the river is a good idea. Selling a bunch of stuff is a good idea. We're still on the low level stuff, which is bothering me a little bit, but that's okay. Let's score some points and get some good stuff. I'm gonna spend this 3 to ferment 2 tea leaves. There's no reason to ferment high stuff because I don't really need high stuff. So let's ferment these 2 2s. Then I take a boat action, which pushes me further up the river and does get me a new cup token. And I'll put that here between the Emperor and the card draw for now. And then my action is a level 3. I'm going to the caravan. And I don't need to call any cards. Power is better than T for now, I think, unless I want to buy a card. Actually, I think I might. Let's do this one. So already I've got a 3, so I'm getting that. I only need to spend 1 leaf. I don't want to spend the fermented that I did, so I'm just going to get rid of 1 level 3 leaf. Means I get 3 points and an Emperor and a T. 1, 2, 3, Emperor and a teapot. Like that. That goes here. We're at 3 now, remembering I need to get to 5 to hit that goal. But I think I'm also going to use this double secondary action to move my boat one more time. Pushing up, I get another teapot and another +1. That's great. That absolutely means I can start picking up some other card stuff, and I don't really need any more boat cards. I might be looking at this one that scores a bunch of points for leaves when I play the card, but that is my turn. Or not. I'm going to pause there, because I'm going to use this cup token to take another Emperor tile, or Emperor token, using both of those with a level 3. No, I need a level 4 leaf, because that means I go up 1 more. And I'll ferment 1 of my level 3 tea leaves. Culling a card would be nice now. I do want to get rid of one of those plain red teapot cards. Bye-bye. And 1 more power. But more importantly, I'm now at level 4, which means I get to place out a token at the 10-point spot right there, which is beautiful. So I need 1 more garden getting out, and I need my camel. 2 more of those, and we do have our first of the higher level ones coming. All right then, back to AI. Things are looking not so bad. They get 2 tea leaves, and they are taking a caravan. They're taking the 3rd caravan, which is great because that's a cheapy one. They score the same regardless, but that means I don't lose out on that. That gets refilled now with another higher level one. They're now at 3 as well, just like me. Great. Then they're going to ferment 2 leaves and take a cup action. and then they're going to spend 3 leaves and take 1 more cup action. So starting first, they're looking for a right blue or left white in just these 2 zones. They can't take from there, so they have to take this one because there's nothing left there. But that left white does work for them. And they are taking the next one then because they have no other choice. And that can go on either side. I'm just going to put it here to start growing things that way so I don't have to move stuff around like that. Then if they had 2 emperors, they would do that. But now I want to do some stuff. I want to buy a card. I want to buy this card in the 2 slot, which needs 2 teapots. But I have 2 teapot tokens. It does need 3 level 5s, which is a problem. I don't have a 3rd level 5. Grr. I can do it though if I want to. There's no way to do it except to, there's no way to get a level 5 except to take a T action. So, first things first then, I'm going to play out. Let's go boats. That's a 3. I'm going to use 2 of my powers to make that a 5, so I can place out my next tea garden. And I'm going to play that here to score 4 points. 1, 2, 3, 4, and also take 1 + 1. I also get to ferment 2 more tea leaves, 1 and 2. I get to draw a card and discard a card. Would I rather have another action with a thing to do, or rather have the power? Let's keep the 2. Let's keep the 2 for now. I don't know what's going to happen, but let's keep the 2, and then I get a boat. So I push up there, I take an emperor, and I get to draw and discard again. And that's the same option. So I might as well just get rid of that one. That's my turn, their turn, they turn here. Which is 2 new leaves for them. A new card, which is the card at 2, and 2 is 4. So they'll take that card. That slides down, they refill it. Lots of cards for them. They're going to take a cup, then they're going to refill a cup, then they're going to flip over 3 of these. They don't have enough emperor tokens. But they're looking, well, it doesn't matter. There's only 1 spot they can take from, is left blue or right white. Again, it doesn't match, so they're just going to slide that there like that. That's their turn. Pretty useless for them. Now, I want tea, but I think I'm just going to focus on getting that card next time, because if I can get something right now, which I, looking at the board, already see that I can, I'm going to sell some stuff. So I'm going to do 3. Looking at the caravans, the 2 biggest ones are 4s. So I'm going to use 1 power to get to a 4. And I need to hold on to a 5T. I'm doing this. I need to get rid of 2 fermented and 3 more something. So hold on. I want to keep a 5 for a reason in a minute. And I need to get rid of 5T. Well, let's just do that, I guess. 1, 2, 3, 4. No, let's go light 3, 4, 5. Which gets me a +1. 5 points. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then because I'm level 4, another 5 points. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And an emperor. That goes in there. That is now card 4. Not there yet, but close to it. Also, I forgot to mark that. I did play out my 4th garden, so that's mine too. Then I get 1 studies. So I can either ferment stuff, which I don't want to because it's going away. So I'm going to take a card and discard a card, which doesn't matter because it's just going to be discarded. So we're going to take that card, which is the 1 cup. It goes away. I'm going to take 1 level 3 tea, and I'm going to take 1 more emperor. And then I'm immediately going to use 2 emperors plus this level 5 tea to move up to level 5. Now I'm allowed to cull again. And I think I'm gonna. Let's see. What tea do I need for that? Blue. So let's get rid of a green or a red. I don't have any greens or reds, but I do have 2 teapots, and I'm not going to be getting a lot of cards. Let's call that blue out of there, shuffling that up again, like that. But most importantly, I get to take an Emperor card. And I definitely want this 12. Although 3 times 5 is 15. That's already 12. And it gets me a pot. That's better. That's better. Or a cup, I mean. Great. Then, his turn. He certainly can pay for the turn. Those go away. They take another turn, which is sending one of these to a 6 of the first spot is here. Then they're fermenting 2, but they can't. They're taking cups, throwing away 3 of these and taking more cups. But again, not a lot of tea gardens going out, so the only thing they can do is take those 2 cups. And putting those in the right order, there's no way for them to, yes there is. This will connect there, and now I'm going off the screen, so I'm just going to connect like that for them. Breaking their tea cake. Okay, that's that. 2 emperors, they don't, that's it for them. I can play one more turn, which will get me a cup action, and will get me a 2, possibly 4. With a 4, I can't buy any cards. I can't sell anything away because I won't have any stuff. The only thing I can do with a 4 is get more tea, ferment more tea, which doesn't make any sense, or play out on one of these. So I might as well do that. Let's do it. In that case, 2 is good enough. Those get spent, right? 3 tea, one of which is fermented, or at least one of which is fermented. I can ferment 2, but I can't. I will get a cup. I will get a card thing in just a minute. But first, placing my courtier out on the 2, I get to take one of these 3 things. I will take the level 1 tea because there's no reason for me to draw cards if it's just going to go away again. That gets refilled. And I draw a card. And then I take a cup, which looking at my stuff looks great if I take this one. Because if I slide this way, I'm going to get another emperor. But do I want to? I could put it there and get another card. I don't know. This looks like it could be a good idea. And if I don't need it, then I can still get the 2 tea that I could use later on. So I'm going to hold off on that for now. Like that. And then I get to draw a card and discard a card. I'm going to discard that one. Like that. That's the end of my turn. They don't have any tea to play another one. I don't have any tea to play another one. That's the round. Move the round tracker to the 5th and final round. Burn our last burn card. These slide down. That fills in. Like that. Over here, we both score 5 points. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Those go away. Those go away too. Then we flip over 2 more. Cake and power, cake and fermenting. Remember, I have that card that scores for fermented leaves, so I'd like to finish with lots of fermented leaves this time if possible. My card's clear. His card's clear. Take it tucked under. I draw 4 cards. 1, 2, 3, and 1 more. 4. Not great. Then this passes back to me. T. This can't get any worse than it already is, so it stays there. He's got 3 gardens. He gets 6 leaves. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I get a 2, a 3, a 4, a 5, and a 6. So 2 on all of them. Like that. I go first. Let's see what we're going to do. I definitely need to do one more caravan card. For sure. But not yet. Because he still has 3. So I'm not in a race to get there right this minute. I want to buy that card. But I also want to make sure I ferment a bunch of stuff before I use that card because That card scores points on fermented stuff. So I'm going to play a scroll card. That is now in position 1. That's beautiful. I play just that. Strength 1. I need 2 pots, so I'm going to use my 2 pot tokens because why not? Then I need to spend 3 level 5 teas. So 5, 5, and 1, 6. Go away. I take that card, which is wonderful. It goes into my hand. Great. Those slide down. 1 more over. Then I get to move up on the studies track once more. And I will pick this one as 3 fermentation and an emperor. So 3 fermenting. Right now it doesn't matter where they come from. 1, 2, 3 like that. Beautiful. His turn. He's getting cakes. Just 2 means he's only taking 1 of them, the center token. So he takes that, which does finish his second cake. Which is sad. Refilling that. I'm not playing that game at all this time. He ferments 3 leaves and gets an emperor. And an emperor like that is my turn. Do I have more studies? I don't. I only have 1 study. But I can do that before I do the other thing. All right, so let me do one more something before I do that. Huh. Ooh, if I do that, that's even better. All right, let's see what we got. I need to go shopping, but I can't do shopping yet. All right, I'm going to spend 4 with a boat to place a courtier out at this 4. To get one of these tea cakes, I will take the center one because I need at least 1 point for my thing to score if I can finish it. I'm not going to know if I'm going to finish it, but we'll see. That refills. And I ferment 2 more tea leaves. And my boat moves forward 1, which gets me another cup token and another emperor. And I'm going to immediately use my cup tokens here and here, both of them, to take a card and a 2 tea leaf. 1 and a card. That was fermented. Yay, that's beautiful. Then, that's my turn. AI goes again. Camel and an emperor. So his caravan, he's taking the top one, which is another cheapie for me. That is their 4th card. That's great, because that's just what I'm about to do, just double checking that is 4 for them. Then they take a cup. They take a new cup card, which is, wow, the last of them, and they ferment 2 leaves. Unfortunately for them, they haven't placed out any more tea gardens, and there are no cups left, so sorry. They're playing really badly this time. So back to me, and now we have fun, because I want to play, we're going shopping. They're all 4+. All right, so I'm just going to play a 4. And I'm going to activate this one first because if I move around the circle to here, I ferment 2 more leaves. 1, 2. And then I get to place one of my workers in the center of that circle for having crossed the threshold. I don't know if I can do that actually, because it looks like this comes before that. So I'm going to say those 2 weren't fermented actually, but I'm still going to ferment them. So I'll count those as regular leaves. But that should be 1, 2, 3, 4 regular. Let's call those regular, because I said I'm not sure I can do that in opposite order. So I've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, right? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, but now those did get fermented. So that's 14 points from that. Is 1, 2, 3, 4 is 47, then we go all the way up to 57. Put in one of our guys on the 50 to make sure I know that. And now I have a level 4 action, which is going to be one of these guys. And they're going to also get me a cake, which is great. I don't need to spend a ton of leaves. An extra Oh, just one extra fermented leaf for 2 points? No, because an extra fermented leaf gives me 3 points later on. So no thank you. No thank you. Ah, I'm an idiot. I could have gotten more points from fermenting, but we'll talk about that in a minute. I am going to take one of the teas. So this one, I'm going to spend 4 leaves, one of which has to be fermented. So looking at my board, I'm keeping that 6 for a minute, and you'll see why. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. So that will get me 3 points. It is level 4, so that's 5 points. So I get 8 points. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 points for that. And then I take a tea, which is going to finish up my thing. Which one do I want? It doesn't matter. Let's take this one. To get one more level 1 tea. That card is mine. Because now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of those. That's brilliant. But also I'm going to spend 2 of these guys plus this level 6 leaf to move up my final spot there, which does ferment that last leaf I just got. I can get rid of something, so I might as well get rid of one of these starting cards. I don't think it's going to matter, because I don't think I'm suddenly churning through cards in any way. But that's done. That gets refilled. And I scored that. So we place one more of these guys out here, and I just realized I've been forgetting to take these. So realistically, I should have both of those. It doesn't matter at this moment, but that's that. His turn. He gets a card at level 3. Boom. He's got lots of those cards. He's going to be scoring lots of points that I don't know about at the end of the game. So I am a little bit scared, but those slide down. That flips over. He's going to ferment 2 leaves like that, and he's taking double cup actions. But guess what? There's no cups for him to buy because he never placed out any tea gardens. His engine got really weird, but that is that. My turn. Now, this is where things get weird because I have the Emperor card that gives me points for each of those things. And I don't remember how much it is, but I will find out later. But the point is, assuming even just 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 points, the more stuff that I spend to get points, the worse it is. Like if I spend 4 of those, that's 8 points. So I have to get at least 8 points back for doing so, which I could do if I played that. Or boats. Ooh, boats is big. Boats gets me 8 points plus whatever I do. Yeah, all right, so I'm going to spend 4. Means I have to spend 3 leaves, which might be 9 points. But I'm going to make a whole lot more than 9 points right now. I think. Well, that's 8 plus whatever action I take. And that's 4. Yeah, all right, let's do that. I spend that 4. No, I might as well do this because I'm not playing anymore. I spend that 6. In order to place out one of these at this 6 location, which gets me something here, which does nothing, because I can't ferment an already fermented leaf. I was hoping to do one of these, but I'm not getting rid of, I don't have enough leaves now. But that also gets me one more +1, which will score me points at the end, just little points. Then I get to move my boat up to the 25 spot, like that. And that is the end of my game. Yeah, I will spend for one more turn. Flipping over. Hey, look, a tea garden. Congratulations. He's placing out in this 5 spot like that. Ferments 3 leaves and places out. Gets one more Emperor, but so what? That's that. But yeah, they'll take another turn as I'm passing, spending 3 more. Flipping one more card. They'll place out one of these at a 4 plus 2. Is 6, and he prioritizes halls over spaces. So he's going to the first tile, which is the 4 right there. So I am still winning that tile, yay. Then he ferments and takes this action. He doesn't have enough to spend for another one. So taking the action there means he does push into the first quadrant again, means that does score something. And also he will then spend 2 Emperors to go up one more time on there, which will end up scoring things for him. He gets rid of that card, but it doesn't matter because that is now the end of the game, and we go into final scoring. So we start first with points on our action cards. So let me scoop up all my cards and separate them into things that score. The Emperor cards will be separate. All right, then I've got 5. Plus 7 is 12, plus 4 is 16, plus 4 is 20 points for me. Let me do that again. 4 and 4 is 8, and 7 is 15, and 5 is 20. So back at the main board, for me, that goes from 15 to 35. Well, 85 realistically. AI does the same thing looking at this huge stack of cards they've been amassing. Is 4, plus 5 is 9, plus 6 is 15, plus 6 is 21, plus 7 is 28, plus 8 is 36. Let's do that backwards. 8 and 7 is 15, 21, 27, 32, 36 points for them, which means 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is 21 to 51. And they placed there. Next we score Emperor cards. They don't have any of those. I score 3 per built building. That's 1, 2, 3, 4 is 12 points. So we go 1, 2, 37, 10 is 47. And then I score 3 per fermented leaf remaining is unfortunately just 6 points. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm up to 103. And the last one I have is 3 per caravan card, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is 15 points. Which means 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 10 is 18 like that. Now instead of Emperor cards, they score Emperor track. With 3 though, they only get 18 points. So that means up to 9 and 10 is 19 like that. Next is river. The AI didn't ever go out onto the river. Means I score 25 points, they score nothing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is 23, and 20 is 43. Next for T studies, we both get 10 because we both have one guy in that spot. So 10 for them is 29. 10 for me goes to 53, which is now 153. Now cards for them that I didn't score are these. They score 5 points each. 1, 2, 3, 4 is 20 points. So that goes from 29 up to 49. I do score my 10 points for the Emperor's track, so I go up to 13 there. I already did their Emperor track differently. Now this is where they're going to score a ton of points. They're scoring points based on connections here. No. Yes, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5. Now looking at the book real quickly here, you can see with 5 matches, they score 11 points. Not as bad as I thought it was going to be. That's 50 and 10 is 60. They're catching up. That pushes to there. Then finally, I score points for unused scrolls and Emperor tokens. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 points for that. 1, 2, 3, 4. They don't collect anything, but they do score for leaves instead. 1 point for every 2 fresh leaves and 1 point for fermented leaves. They have 1 fermented leaf left, so they get 1 point for that. Now, expansion stuff. I score 2 stars times 1 point is 2 points for that cake. 1, 2. They completed 2 cakes. They scored 10 points for completed cakes and 5 points for incomplete cakes, so that's 20 points for them right now. Goes from 11 to 21, 31 like that. And now the last score, which is where I'm going to blow up and shine, is Imperial Decrees. It worked out this game, and I hope I didn't make any mistakes. You'll see if I did in the subtitles up to this point. But I scored all 4 of those, and they scored none of them, which is crazy. That's 6 and 6 and 10 and 10, so 12, 22, 32, 1, 2. Then 30 brings me all the way around to 51. I scored 201 points to their 181 points. That is amazing. I am so excited I got that on camera, and I really hope I didn't make any mistakes because taking a look at my BG stats, my high score to this point was 178, which they would have just beaten with their 181. And actually, I don't think that I scored Yeah, I forgot to score my cup, so that's 1, 2, 3. So I actually score an additional 4 points. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 205 to their 181. High score for me. Yay. Which is great because just before filming this, I did play one game to refresh myself on the rules of the game, and they beat me 172 to 159 at this same medium difficulty. So jumping now to 205 to their 181, largely from this track over here, or from those goals and their lack of scoring on those goals. But yay, that is that. That is a win. That's a big win, and I'm very happy that you got to see me do that. Now, this is the point where I do like to take a look at components. I really, really love the way this game looks. Looking over here first at the main board, beautiful sort of countryside, very easy to see the different regions based on color. Although I can't speak to colorblind issues, you may have problems comparing them, but you should be able to see that they're different shades, and the actual colors doesn't hugely matter because also on the solo cards, while the colors are definitely helpful, they also have slightly different patterns of stripes on them, which you can kind of pay attention to. Looking there, although I don't know if that's true because looking here, I can't say that they're all the same. But otherwise, the iconography in this game is quite great. It's quite easy to understand. There's nothing really all that hard to parse. All of the token components are very nice, thick tokens. Very, very visually beautiful and nice to look at. These cup tokens are wooden, printed with these sort of seals on the back of them. Really cool looking. Everything visually works very well. I love the design visually of the cards as well. They do feel like they have a bit of a linen finish, but they are quite glossy. They're very nice stiffness. They feel a little bit small, but if you compare the action cards with the caravan cards, I think the caravan cards are sort of normal poker size, and these action cards are a little bit smaller. For whatever that matters, doesn't bother me in any way. I do like looking back over at our player boards, how these all tie together when you put them in the thing. I like how these these tea cakes look as you put them together. Looking quickly back at the main board at all of the different wooden bits, everything does have sort of a silk screen picture on them. Oh, did I score those? I don't think I scored those either. Means I get another 10 points. 215, and he gets another 2 points. 183. I'll fix that if I need to, but I don't think I did that. Anyway, looking at the different pieces here, even these over here, really, really cool wooden bits that I really do enjoy. I'm a big fan of chunky wooden pieces that are sort of unique to the game. These look great. There's no real need to have the silkscreen things. In fact, the people are also looking different directions or front and back when you look at the pieces, which makes me incredibly happy. Everything looks gorgeous. The artwork is great. The quality of the components is great. The other colors that do come in this box for player characters are this sort of blue color and this yellow color. So they are quite different, I think. Again, I'm not sure how all of this works for people who see colors differently, but those are the 4 colors in the box. I should also show you that the game does come with an insert that's quite usable. There are 4 trays for the 4 different players. All of the cups go here. The first player marker goes here. This will hold these small bonus tokens in like that. Here is where all of these pieces go. This is where all of the emperors go, and also I can fit this little round marker in there. Each of these 2 is for the leaves and the cup tokens. And over here, all of the different cards go. Now, granted, the sort of expansion content isn't designed to fit in this. It is perfectly designed to fit the main game components, because also these boards fit into this slot right here, and then when I fold this board, it fits into this big spot right here. It is perfectly designed for the base game. I can very easily fit the expansion content in there, but it doesn't work beautifully because it was designed for the base game specifically. But I do love that with the boards in here and this piece, it does flip flush to the top of the box, so nothing gets moved around while you are sort of putting it sideways on a shelf or what have you. Very nice insert, especially for the base game, still serviceable for the base game plus the expansion. That's basically all I have to say about the components. Meet me back up top and I'll let you know what I think about the gameplay itself. Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed the playthrough. So here we go, another game from Tomáš Holek on this channel. He's a name that I discovered last year through my plays and coverage of SETI, which ended up being one of my absolute favorite games that I did play last year and got me really excited about discovering more of his games. So I did sort of start digging into his other games, and the next game that I covered was a game called Aquaria that I liked well enough, but it didn't really connect with me. But I did sort of discover that that was published from Vladimir Suchy's company, and it did have some sort of development, and also the solo design was done by Vladimir Suchy. So I was sort of crossing my fingers that my lack of connection was due to the sort of fact that it had a lot of Vladimir Suchy DNA in the game, and that coming back to games like this, which are sort of specifically designed by Tomáš Holek alone, might connect back into sort of that feeling I had when I played SETI, and I'm very happy to say that yes, I do very, very much enjoy this game, Tea Garden, as well as its expansion, Puerh. So let's sort of dive into what it is about this game that I enjoy as much as I do. So at its core, Tea Garden is a deck building game, but saying that is sort of doing a disservice to the game because the core mechanical loop is absolutely deck building, and it is about building out a deck of cards to use those cards to take a variety of actions to ultimately score a bunch of points. But this is quite a sort of point salady Euro game, a sort of big experience with a lot of different pathways to a lot of different ways to score points, and sort of gives you the option that every time you play, you kind of play slightly differently in order to achieve different things and score points in different ways. So let's sort of go through what the game is. And again, the game is building out a deck of cards, trying to sort of add in more powerful cards, culling out sort of the weaker starting junkier cards, ultimately trying to build up a stronger deck that will allow you to take a variety of other actions that will be scoring most of the points for you in the game. So the way that the cards are played in this game is quite unique in that this is not a deck building game where each card is like play additional cards or draw additional cards or what have you. The way this game works is on your turn, your player board has, I believe, 3, maybe 4 slots, 3 of which are free, and the 4th one's going to cost you some tea resource to spend in order to use that 4th slot. And the way that it's going to work is you're going to play any number of cards from your hand into the leftmost available slot on your board, paying the cost if that slot has one. And when I say any number of cards, I mean that each card has in its top corner a value. And the total value of the numbers of all of the cards that you're playing on a single turn will determine sort of the strength of the action, not the type of action. You're free to take one of 5 actions with your card play every turn. It's instead going to determine the value or the strength of your action and how big of an action you're able to take on your turn with that set of cards. In addition, whichever card you choose to place on the top of that stack that you're playing will also potentially dictate other things. Sometimes they will have additional sort of small bonus actions you can take. Sometimes they will have one of the major secondary actions printed on the card that you can take in addition to your main action. And sometimes they will have teapots printed on them. I want to focus on the teapots first because talking about the values or the strengths of the actions, there are 5 different main actions you can take, at least in the core game, which I'm going to talk about first. And the first of those actions is the way that you buy new cards from the market to add into your deck and sort of the main sort of deck building mechanism of this game. So on the main board, there are several slots under which there are a variety of different cards that you can buy to add into your deck. And above each of those cards, there is a value increasing from left to right. And that value is the number that you have to meet or exceed with the value or the strength of the action you've played that turn in order to buy that card. But that's not good enough. You don't simply get to take the card from the slot by having played a strong enough action. You also then need to pay for the card that you're taking. And that means at the bottom of every card, there are 2 pieces of information, one of which is one or several pictures of teapots. And there are 3 different colored teapots, red, blue, and green, fire, earth, and water, or fire, water, and earth in the order that I said them. And you need to have those pots that are printed on the bottom of the card visible on top of the cards that you've played out into your tableau, including the card you played that round, but also any other cards you've played, that turn, but also any other cards you've played in previous turns in that same round, because those cards will stay out on your board as you play them. So you need to make sure you have those pots visible on your cards. You need to make sure you've taken a strong enough action to access the card slot where that card is, but then ultimately in the bottom right corner, there is also a value and number of tea leaves that you need to physically spend, resources that you need to spend from your personal supply in order to purchase that card. So you need to make sure you have a strong enough action to access the slot. You need to make sure you have the right teapots to take that card, and you need to make sure you have enough tea leaves to spend as a physical resource in order to purchase that card. And then the next step is, once you've purchased that card, it doesn't go into your deck or on top of your discard like it would in many other deck building games. It goes immediately into your hand, which means that you can then play that card on future turns within the same round. And this is a way that you're not only making your deck better, but potentially extending the length of a round and extending the number of actions you're capable of taking in the round. Though again, it doesn't go forever, because there are a limited number of slots on your player board where you can slot cards in to take an action. And the last slot on the board, or in the case of the expansion, when it adds in an additional slot, will cost an amount of tea leaves, either fresh or fermented. I'll talk about what that means in just a minute. But again, you're buying cards hoping that the cards you're buying will be stronger in some way. It might mean that the value at the top of the card that applies to the sort of value or strength of an action is increasing. It might mean there are better bonus actions printed on the card. It may mean that there are more than one teapot printed, available teapots for you to buy future cards. Some of them will actually have scoring that's triggered as you play the card in future rounds, and so on. So this is the way that you're building up your deck throughout the game. But once you've got this deck, you're using this deck to take actions. Yes, one of those actions is buying these cards. And these cards that you're buying do also have point value, flat point values that will score at the end of the game. But otherwise, you're using those cards to take the other 4 actions. And the next action I want to talk about is building out your buildings, or your developing of your tea gardens. On your player board, you have a variety of buildings, increasing in value again from left to right. And the value of that building, again, is the value you need to meet or exceed with the strength of your action on your turn to be able to place that building out onto the map. And the map is broken up to a variety of different regions, of colored regions on the map. And also each location in each of those regions has a value, and that's the value of the tea leaf that you're able to harvest at that location. And when you place out a building onto the board, you are allowed to place that building anywhere you want to, such that it is adjacent to a building that you have that's already existing on the board. So you start with one building in this sort of small yellow section in the top left corner of the board, and then you're slowly expanding from that location, placing in adjacent locations. And every time you place, there's some kind of small bonus you get for building there. Some of the places that you place in the higher level spaces, again, my directions are backwards on camera, will score also points as you place your building in those locations. But the main point is, at the end of every round, you will be harvesting tea at every location where you have a building of the value that's printed on the board at that location. And you need that tea for a variety of other things you're going to do in the game, one of which already I've mentioned, which is activating those later action slots on your player board, as well as another that I've already mentioned, which is paying for those new cards that you're adding into your deck or adding into your hand to play stronger actions later on. So placing these buildings out is going to be really, really important. It will also dictate something later that I will talk about in the secondary actions, which is these cups that you can get for later on additional sort of bonus scoring in the game. But that's the second action. So 1 was buying cards, 2 now is placing out your buildings in order to develop tea gardens that will then allow you to harvest tea leaves later on at the end of the round. The third big action that you can take is selling your tea leaves at market. There are these sort of traveling caravans where you sell your tea, and there are going to be a range or a column of 3 cards off to the side of the board, and those 3 cards represent the current sort of markets that you can sell your tea to. And each of these cards has 2 pieces of information, a set at the top and a set at the bottom. The set at the top is going to give you 2 options as to how much tea you need to sell to that caravan in order to get whatever it shows on that card. Sometimes it's bonuses, sometimes it's points, sometimes it's a mix of bonuses and points, and so on. At the bottom of the card is going to be two different options for value of strength of your action. So in order to sell at one of these caravans, you need to first have an amount of tea available to sell to them, but also you need to have a strength of action equal to or higher than one of the options at the bottom of the card. And if you have enough tea and your action is strong enough, you then sell to that caravan, getting points, getting bonuses, and often getting emperor tokens, which is something else, another kind of resource you're going to spend to move up an additional track, which I will mention slightly later. But that's the third main action, and one of the biggest ways in the game that you will be scoring points. So you do need to collect that tea from the different tea gardens, and you do need to boost your action with stronger cards to make sure you can hit the higher thresholds on those cards to maximize the points and bonuses you're getting from those cards. The other two small actions are kind of secondary, last-ditch kind of actions that you may never use in the game if you're sort of creatively using the combos and bonus actions that you get from other places, and that is growing tea or harvesting tea and fermenting the tea. Harvesting tea simply means for the value of the action, for every one value of your action, you can harvest at one of your tea gardens out on the map, harvesting one leaf from each of those gardens that you activate. And you can't activate the same garden twice. So if I have two gardens and I have a strength 3 action, I'm still only growing tea or harvesting tea from each of those once, and that third value is completely wasted in that turn. So you have to pay attention to that. But again, you are harvesting 2 leaves from each of your gardens at the end of each round. So if you time things well, you very likely don't necessarily need to take the harvest tea action, but it's there just in case you find yourself in a situation where you don't have enough tea to get things done that you want to get done, and you realize, whoops, I need to get some more tea quick, and that's the way you're going to do it. The last action is the fermentation action. And this is going to sort of dictate what happens to your tea leaves at the end of the round, but also allow your tea leaves to be spent on sort of stronger actions and or to be able to sell for more points at the caravan markets and so on. And fermenting simply means I'm going to take a tea leaf token, which starts as the green fresh side, flipping it over to the brown fermented side. And that's important again because some of the contract card kind of stuff will require specifically fermented leaves, but also at the end of every round, any leaf that is a fresh tea leaf will degrade to one level lower or one value lower, whereas any tea leaf that is fermented will actually improve to one level higher. So this is a good way to increase the value of your tea leaves, making it so that you can hit some of these harder things to hit towards the end of the game. So those are the 5 main actions. But I also mentioned that some of the cards you're playing to take the actions will have secondary actions, and there are 3 main secondary actions on the board. The first one is the river. Across the main board there is a river that flows, and basically whenever you play the river action, you're going to move your boat to the next space on that river, claiming whatever bonus action is shown there. And this is going to be a good way for you to potentially get more tea leaves, potentially get emperor tokens, potentially get other side tokens like a wild teapot that helps you buy new cards, or a tile that allows you to activate a secondary action twice, or a tile that gives you +1 strength to an action on your turn when you use it, and so on. But also at the end of the game, depending on how far you've made it along the river, you will score some number of points based on your final sort of ending location on the river. The next side action is the cup action that I briefly mentioned before. Each colored region on the map has a stack of cup tiles associated with it. And each cup tile in the center is going to have some kind of bonus action you can potentially get from that tile. And then on either side of those tiles is a half of an icon of some color. And when you connect 2 of these cup tiles together, means if I've gotten a second cup tile, I connect it to the first one, I will place a cup token on that connection. And at any point I can get rid of that cup token to trigger either of the bonus actions on the tiles connected to that token. And there are ways that later on in the game you are able to add additional cup tokens back onto those tiles to trigger those bonuses again. But also when you connect those cup tiles together, If you can manage to connect the same color of icon together, making a single icon of a single color, at the end of the game that will score points, and those are sort of exponentially increasing based on the number of correct colored connections you've managed to make by the end of the game. So this is another way that you're getting bonus stuff, but also potentially scoring additional points at the end of the game. And the last of these three main side actions or secondary actions is the Tea Studies track. In the top corner of the board, there is a big circle. And this is a circular track that you're going to be moving around. You've got a worker that starts at basically the starting space. And every time you take a Tea Study secondary action, you will move your worker to the next location on that wheel. Except that each location is actually two different locations, and you get to choose which of the two you'd like to take. Again, getting tea leaves, again, being able to ferment leaves, again, getting bonus tokens, again, potentially getting emperor tokens. And if you can make it all the way around the wheel, you'll place an additional one of your workers in the center of the wheel, scoring 10 points at the end of the game for each of those times that you've managed to go around that wheel. So the last thing I really need to talk about is this sort of emperor token thing that I keep mentioning you're getting from all of these other actions, and that is another small track at the bottom of the board that is a sort of tiered track. And for each level of the track, this is a free action you can take at any time during your turn. By discarding 2 emperor tokens and paying the value of tea, 1 tea leaf of a value of the level you're moving to. So level 1 is 1 value 1 tea leaf. Level 2 is 1 value 2, level 3 is 1 value 3, and so on. You can move up this track. And basically at every level you're going to be given the opportunity to cull a card from your hand, your deck, your discard pile, getting rid of one of the sort of weaker cards to thin out your deck to make sure your powerful cards are cycling more quickly through your deck, giving you bigger and stronger actions as the game moves on. Some of the levels will give you other kinds of bonuses like fermenting some of your tea leaves. And then sort of every other level on this track also gives you access to an Emperor card. So below this track there are 3 additional cards, and these work just like the cards you're buying from the market, except that they're slightly better in 2 different ways. One is that the bonuses printed on these cards generally are a bit better than what you're getting from the market. But also at the bottom of these cards, instead of having a flat point score like the normal action cards do, these will always have some kind of special scoring. It might just be a flat point, very big flat points like 12 points, but some of them are going to say scoring points based on how many of a certain kind of card you got, or how many times you sold to the caravan market, or how many fermented tea leaves you have at the end of the game, and so on. So this is giving you an additional sort of scoring goal condition that you're working towards at the end of the game to score more points. And that's basically how the game works, playing out over 5 rounds, trying to build up your deck into stronger things, to take stronger actions, to get more tea, to sell to market, to make more points, to move up the action track, or sorry, the Emperor track, getting stronger cards with scoring goals that you're scoring on at the end of the game, moving around that Tea Studies track, moving along the river, collecting these cups in order to score additional points, triggering bonuses along the way that all sort of cascades into each other to help you score other points in other places, and so on. And all of it feels really good and works really well together, but I'm going to keep going here because I haven't yet talked at all about the expansion. And for me, having now played with the expansion, I don't think that I will ever play without the expansion. And that is because the expansion does add a slight bit of more difficulty or complexity to the game, giving you a couple more ways to score points. But more importantly to me, what the expansion does is it adds in some focus into the game. It adds sort of direction to the kinds of strategies you're going to play with each time. But let me explain that a little bit better. Let's start at the beginning. So what does the expansion add? First, it adds an extension to your player board that gives you the potential to take 1 additional action on your turn if you can afford to pay the slightly higher cost in tea leaves in order to take that action. But it also adds an extension board to the main board that adds in 2 additional action types, but then also that sort of focus that I was talking about before. The 2 different action types, the first one is tea cakes. And there are actually 2 different types of tea cakes, red tiles and green tiles. The green tiles you're generally going to collect from other actions as a sort of bonus that you're getting for doing other things, whereas the red tiles are a specific action that you're going to the board to buy. And all of these tiles are sort of wedges of a circle. And the point is you're trying to collect a bunch of them to make the full circle, and when you make a full circle, you will score a number of points equal to the number of stars printed on the center of the tiles in that circle, times the number of point values printed on the center of that circle. And whatever that product of those two values is the number of points you score for that tea cake. And the way the action works is there are 3 tea cakes available to buy, 3 of the red ones. And depending on the strength of your action, you can buy 1, 2, or 3 of them in a single action. But it's worth mentioning if you buy more than 1 of them in a single action, they cannot be fitted into the same circle. You're going to have multiple tea cakes building at the same time if you're taking the higher valued strengths of that action. But what's unique about the red tiles is, in addition to needing strength to buy those tokens, they also all have a number of tea leaves printed on them. So in order to use that, or take that tile and use that tile, you need to be able to pay the resource cost as well as having enough strength to take a tile. But when you pay that cost, it flips over. You get some kind of bonus action or bonus ability or bonus resource, and then you slot it into one of your tea cakes, ultimately hoping to score at the end of the game if you've managed to complete that full circle. Now the green ones work the same way, except you don't have to pay any tea leaves when you get one. But the values of stars and points in the center, as well as the bonus abilities or bonus actions they give you, will not be as strong as the red tea cakes. But these green ones, again, are generally going to be things that you pick up in other actions as some kind of bonus sort of reward you get for doing something else. The other new action are these 2 or 3 tiles, depending on player count, that slot onto the board. And these are sort of like worker placement locations where you've got these new workers called courtiers. You start with 2 of them, and you have the ability to get 2 additional courtiers later on in gameplay. And what you can do is each of these locations has a series of numbers or spaces underneath them. And the values, I believe, are 6, 4, 3, and 2, if I'm remembering correctly. And if you play an action of that strength or higher, you can place your worker in that location, triggering whatever the new ability is on that tile. And there's going to be 2 or 3 tiles, again, depending on player count, and those refresh or change to new tiles at the start of every round. And there's a reason there's multiple locations underneath each of these, is that because at the end of the round, whoever has the highest total value of placements under that tile will score 5 points, and whoever has the second highest value will score 2 points. So in addition to giving you these interesting worker placement spots that will give you all kinds of different sort of combinations of the actions and abilities and bonuses you get from other things in the game, you also have the potential to be able to score additional points at the end of each round for having used those locations. So those end up being really, really powerful. So those are the 2 new actions, but the main thing that really gets me, or that I really enjoy about this expansion, is the focus that I mentioned. And that is, there are 4 tiles on the board. All of these tiles are the same tile. They're double-sided, which means that 2 of them I'm going to put on a brown side, which is the sort of standard side, and 2 of them I'm going to place out on the red side, which is the sort of more advanced side. It's the same thing on both sides, just the second side, the red side, is going to be a little bit harder to accomplish. And what I mean by that is each of these 4 things is a sort of battle or race scoring goal that you're trying to accomplish before the other players in the game accomplish it. And if you can accomplish it first, it's worth more points, and if you accomplish it second, it's worth less points. The brown ones are going to be worth 6 points max, and the red ones are going to be worth 10 points max, but again, the red ones require a higher level of whatever the goal is in order to achieve that scoring bonus. And these are going to be things like placing out a number of tea gardens on the board, selling a number of, or fulfilling a number of caravan market cards, or getting a number of tea cakes, or moving up a certain distance on the river, and so on. But what this means is that every time I play the game, it's giving me 4 goals that I want to achieve over everything else. And I mentioned that this game is a very sort of point salad-y kind of game, which means that I've got a variety of different ways I can score in this game. And it means ultimately, if I'm smart about it, every time I play this game, I can try a variety of different strategies and score points in different ways, and there's no sort of one way, one path for me to take in order to do well in this game. Except for me, when I play a game that has a lot of options like that, I tend to find the couple of options that I'm really comfortable with or that I really enjoy, and I focus on those beyond, or sort of above anything else. And regardless of the fact that there are other things that I could be doing, every time I play the game, I kind of start doing the same kinds of things every time, and which means a game that has a lot of variability and variety in it becomes more sort of stale and small to me because I don't take advantage of all that other stuff. But when they throw in goals like they do in this expansion, it means now that I'm forced to try my best to achieve these things. And it might mean that these are things that I've never really tried to achieve before because I didn't really care to. Now I have to. And now it makes me play the game in a different way, and it makes me try new things, and it makes me think about the same action in a different way because this time the sort of order or combination of the goals that have come out forces me to think about, well, how can I do this with this instead of doing this with this like I normally do? And it really does add to the sort of freshness of the game because it forces me to try new things and do new things and play with all the levers and switches in the game. And it really does make things feel quite a bit fresher and more fun for me at least. So I'm a big fan of this. I don't tend to use the tea cake action so much because for me it's not something I've wrapped my head around so much, and it feels like it takes a lot of resources to get those red tea cakes, but I know that you can score a whole lot of points on them if you do focus on that. But I do love those worker placement spots because they add in a variety of fresh new combinations of actions, plus the ability to potentially score more points at the end of every round, which is always nice. And then there's 4 bonus goals that they throw in that are sort of a race with the opponent, does sort of help me to focus on what it is that I want to do and what I need to prevent the other person from doing. Really feels fresh, really feels good, but this is a solo channel, so let's talk about the solo. I'm very happy to report that the solo mode in this game works very well. There's very little that's changed from the multiplayer game. The AI has tea leaves just like you do. Their tea leaves are not valued, but that doesn't really matter so much because of the way the game plays. But basically on the AI's turn, well, let me start this. At the beginning of the game, the AI starts with 3 general cards, one of each of the secondary actions. So 1 river card, 1 cup card, and 1 tea studies card. And then there's a variety of sort of regular advanced cards of the 3 types that you mix all together and draw 3 more of. So you've got at least 1 of each of the secondary actions, plus a mixture of 3 other cards that could be all the same secondary action, could be 2 and 1, could be all 3 different again, and you mix those together with those 3 starting cards. And then depending on the difficulty level that you're playing, there are also expert cards, 3 of those, and you can mix in 1, 2, or 3 of those expert cards into their starting hand as well, and that just gets set to the side. Then all of the other advanced cards you didn't use, not the expert, the general advanced cards, you're going to separate into the 3 secondary actions because they'll be able to add those in later on based on some of the actions that come up on their card play. And on their turn, they're simply turning over the top card of their deck and doing whatever it says, starting at the top and working to the bottom. But realistically, the AI interacts with the game in quite the same way that you do. Most of the stuff is scoring in the same way you do, aside from the Emperor track, because they're actually scoring points for each level, whereas you only score 10 points if you make it all the way to the top of the Emperor track. But everything else interacts with the board the same way you do, is able to sort of get in your way, and you're able to get in their way. They will be sniping things you want. They will be blocking spaces you want. They don't use, though, the cards that they're buying at market. They're only taking those to score at the end of the game. Instead, as I said, they have those 3 decks of advanced cards. And there are some of their cards that will trigger the secondary action on the back of the next card, and then add another card of that same secondary action to their deck of cards. And what that means is, as the game goes on, while they may have started sort of spread out about what they're working on or what they can do, as the game goes on, because it's always copying whatever that secondary action is and adding in another one, they're going to start focusing more and more on specific secondary actions and then really start driving up those sections of the board in order to score a whole lot of points. And they will be competing with you and getting in your way for those 4 scoring goals, although this is the one spot where it could be potentially weaker than a multiplayer game. And that's because, as you saw in my playthrough just now, sometimes the way that things play out for them means they're focused on things that are not the 4 scoring gold tiles, and they just don't manage to score any points from those tiles or get in your way in any way because they're working on other things that aren't connected to that. And that's randomly going to happen sometimes, but for most of my plays, I don't see that happening, and it often ends up that we're sort of split half and half with those 4 tiles, who got there first and who got there second. And this is the only time that I've seen them sort of completely miss everything, so I cross my fingers I didn't make any mistakes, but if I did, you will have seen that in the subtitles or in a pinned comment down below. But in any case, I really love the feel of this game. The AI tends to be pretty difficult, and again, there are difficulty levels to push it if you want them to be harder to defeat. And then there are even a couple of other things that it allows you to do, like starting them with a few extra points and so on, to really up the difficulty if you need more. But that's basically all I need to say or can say about the game. I'm really, really enjoying this. If you are a fan of Point Salad Euro, specifically if you're a big fan of deck building, check this one out. I should point out that I tend to enjoy the deck building mechanism, but I'm not generally a fan of things like Dominion, where deck building is the thing, and it's all about building a deck that's running the deck that's building the deck that's running the deck. In this case, the deck building is probably about 40% of the game or so. And then you're using that to do all kinds of other stuff. And that's the kind of deck building I love, because it gives me more focus about what kind of a deck I want to be building and what looks good in my deck and what looks bad in my deck and what should I add and what should I cull. And I can really focus on strategies based on the other stuff I'm doing in the game. And this does that very well in this game. Again, that's basically all I have to say about this one. As always, I do hope that the video was helpful for you. And if it was, I do ask that you please remember to like, subscribe, and click the bell icon below. And I'll see you all next time. Thanks.